In a moment, I'm going to share with you a poem by the poet Harjo, the first, I believe, Native American woman to become poet laureate and a speaker of truth and beauty. And the poem I've chosen to share with you, I don't normally explain these things to you, but I've chosen because she gives us a beautiful roadmap to sending our spirit out to reconnect with those things that nourish it and then call it back home to ourselves to bring us a new breath of life. So I invite you, as I read these words, I invite you perhaps to imagine yourself and your spirit traveling with hers. This is called For Calling the Spirit Back from Wandering the Earth and its Human Feet. Put down that bag of potato chips, that white bread, that bottle of pop. Turn off the cell phone, computer, and remote control. Open the door and then close it behind you. Take a breath. Offered by friendly winds, they travel the earth, gathering essences of plants to clean. Give back with gratitude. If you sing, it will give your spirit lift to fly to the stars' ears and back. Acknowledge this earth, who has cared for you since you were a dream, planting itself precisely within your parents' desire. Let your moccasin feet take you to the encampment of the guardians who have known you before time, who will be there after time, because they sit before the fire that has been there without time. Let the earth stabilize your post-colonial insecure jitters. Be respectful of the small insects, birds, and animal people who accompany you. Ask their forgiveness for the harms we humans have brought down upon them. Don't worry, the heart knows the way, though there may be high-rises, interstates, checkpoints, armed soldiers, massacres, wars, and those who will despise you because they despise themselves. The journey might take you a few hours, a day, a year, a few years, 100, 1,000, or even more. Watch your mind. Without training, it might run away and leave your heart for the immense human feast set by the thieves of time. Do not hold regrets. When you find your way to the circle, to the fire kept burning by the keepers of your soul, you will be welcomed. You must clean yourself with cedar, sage, or other healing plants. Cut the ties you have to failure and shame. Let go. Let go the pain you are holding in your mind, your shoulders, your heart, all the way to your feet. Let go the pain of your ancestors. Make way for those heading towards you. Ask for forgiveness. Call upon the help of those who love you. These helpers take many forms: animal, element, bird, angel, saint, stone, or ancestor. Call yourself back. You will find yourself caught in corners and creases of shame, judgment, and human abuse. You must call in a way that your spirit will want to return. Speak to it as you would to a beloved child. Welcome your spirit back from its wandering. It will return in pieces and tatters. Gather them together. They will be happy to be found after being lost for so long. Your spirit will need to sleep a while after it is bathed and given clean clothes, and now you can have a party. Invite everyone you know who loves and supports you. Keep room for those who have no place else to go. Make a giveaway. Keep the speeches short. Then you must do this. Help the next person find their way through the dark. At some point in my life, when I was roughly 20 years old and graduating from college, I learned that my mother had thrown away all of my precious childhood stuff. Remember how I learned? I do remember feeling crushed. Why did she do that? Why did she warn me? And even deeper, why did it make me feel the way it did? Now, why did she do that was a pretty easy question. She was never the most patient of people to begin with, and she did occasionally have the habit of making things disappear. There was some silverware I had that I never found after she had visited me. It's a good thing I'm a forgiving person. Why didn't she warn me? I don't know. Maybe she had judged that I wouldn't come back and get rid of it fast enough for her. I don't know that either. But why did it crush me? That was a question that took a long time. She told me there was no way. She didn't realize where it had gone, so there was no way I could find it. And I wanted to find it. I wanted to hold on to these books. It wasn't a big collection, and these dolls, it wasn't a big collection. But they were, I learned over time, they were things, they were avenues that led me into the safety of my imagination, my imagining of possibilities. In a childhood that, let's just say, it was not ready for prime time. June Cleaver might have had a heart attack. I needed, as many children do, perhaps all children, I needed that space of imagination. I needed to know that there were places beyond this place, with little figures dressed in different kinds of clothes. I needed to know that there were adventures and ways of seeing things and avenues to be a hero. I found comfort over and over again in those places. I was the kid who read with the flashlight at night, right? While my parents were screaming, I was taking refuge. Bell Hooks, who many of you may well be familiar with, but an extraordinary essayist and student of humanity and human history, moved away from her native Kentucky and her small African-American community without any intention of ever coming home. She made a list of all the places she needed in her home. I need a place to walk, it's on the list. I need a place to be near other people. She made this list and traveled all over the country looking for that place until at the end she came back to Kentucky. And she writes in a series of essays that tell about this journey of belonging. The collection is called Belonging. We are born and we have our being in a place of memory. We chart our lives by everything we remember, from the mundane to the majestic. She put words to my experience, and perhaps words to the experiences many of us have as we determine never to go home, only to spend decades trying to find it again. I couldn't go back home. It didn't exist. And honestly, beloveds, I'm not sure any of us can. And certainly we can go back to physical places, but I'm not sure we can ever find again that place in the yearning that we have. It's like for those of us who have been or remain active alcoholics, that first sip, where it's like, I'm here, I'm safe, it'll be okay. Home changes, so do we, all the time. And even if we bring those yearnings to spiritual community, a place that, as far as we can tell, is going to ground us in stuff that never changes, those eternal truths about eternal and everlasting love, and those truths about the beauty of the human spirit, all those things are true, but they are in the end imaginings and aspirations. And we bring these things to spiritual community. And most of us, if not all of us, for a brief moment, for our first sip, we have that glorious feeling. I did. The first time I took my seat in a Unitarian Universalist pew for morning worship, it was blah, 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 and then the minister said, and no matter who you love, you are welcome here. And those words exploded in my head, and I felt that sense of being home, of belonging. How many of you have heard someone say that or felt that yourselves? You can raise your hand, don't be shy. The camera points this way, right? We've heard it. And as we welcome, often we welcome people who are coming here for the first time, we hear it again and it reminds us of that feeling we had. I'll tell you what I've never heard. I've never heard anyone say, I can't wait for the annual meeting. I hope it goes 5 hours. If anybody has ever thought that, they haven't had the courage to share it, but I'm pretty sure they never thought that. I can't wait to get on another committee. You know, I love it when we fight about the budget. Those are things that have never been said in the lifetime of any Unitarian university. The truth is that nostalgia for home, that sense of coming home, that sense that some of us in our world want us to cling to in order to go back to a past that didn't exist, it's very much like the magical thinking of our childhood, isn't it? Right? There's some kind of magic formula that makes everything okay, and we don't really have to work for it. We just need to let those guys take care of it for us. In the novel that was published posthumously, Thomas Wolfe says, the hero of his novel, You Can't Go Home Again, says, you can't go back home to your family, back home to your childhood, back home to romantic love, back home to a young man's dreams of glory and fame, back home to someone who can help you, save you, ease the burden for you, back home to escapes of time and memory. Now, I have nothing against beautiful memories or listening to the oldies or remembering times that were particularly special. But looking backward as a spiritual habit is an exercise in futility. We can rewrite history all we want, but we cannot change it. We can censor our memories and try to make them fit some kind of magical thinking ideal, but we can't change what actually happened. If I could read those worn-out books again and cuddle with those much-loved dolls, it wouldn't be the same. I've learned in those decades between then and now that I need to be able and willing and ready to call my spirit back and make home wherever I am. And no matter how long the annual meetings go, or no matter how messy our religious community becomes, I invite you, I urge you, I encourage you, I support you in returning with reverence for the past, but eagerness for the future. Eagerness and excitement for what can be when we work together and smile at one another and forgive one another our foolishness every day if we have to. A couple of years ago, when the commission that had been appointed by our UUA, our Association of Congregations, to re-examine Article 2, a couple of years ago, they put out their results. And there was an outcry from UUs everywhere. You're taking away my principles. Who are we without our 7 principles plus 1? I understand that. Thankfully that year, the delegates didn't just vote it out forever. Thankfully, they said, well, this is also very UU. We'll talk about heaven rather than go to heaven. Let's talk about it some more for another year. And then, in June, as your delegates, Elizabeth and I voted exuberantly, because we had heard from many of you, this is a no-brainer. We voted for a new, more spacious, more deep, more loving, more interesting place for us to inhabit as spiritual people. This is about our future. This is about knowing that even though there were a lot of really famous people 150 years ago, there are a lot more dedicated, committed, spiritual travelers here right now. We've lived through the darkness of night. We're ready for the joy that comes in the morning. We're ready, as we have been. We're ready to open up to what is different, what is new, and what is good. I want to close with some words from the Reverend Victoria Safford, who said this before the vote, when many of us, I don't know about you, Elizabeth, what are we going to do? However we vote, she said, we put love at the center. Unflinching, insistent. This free faith we so cherish reveres the past and trusts the dawning future more. We believe in evolution, unfolding always, not unraveling. And revelation is not sealed. Amen, beloveds. Ashe, and blessed be.